Welcome back to the channel, lads and ladies, and as everyone talks about the copy-paste nature of the latest War Thunder update, I am looking forward to it a little bit. There's definitely problems with the game that I've just kind of admitted that they're never going to be fixed. And it sort of starts at top tier and gets a little bit better the further down in battle rating you get. So my favorite part of the game is still alive and well. I just need to refresh myself a little bit, so we're taking a vacation into Mount and Blade. It's just a vacation. Honestly, I'm not getting obsessed. You shut your mouth. So I'm trying out a few new techniques here, as you can see, seeing if using the jump action via the old spacebar is effective for dodging arrows in a one-on-one, and no, it's not. Why do I mention dodging arrows in a one-on-one? Well, there's no really effective way to dodge arrows on foot when you're facing more than one enemy, as enemy archers tend to start spreading out those volleys fairly quickly. But in a dueling situation, which is one of the situations that this game excels at creating a fun and engaging atmosphere for, then learning just little tricks can really help you out. For example, with any weapon that has a decent reach in a one-on-one against most of the lower level AIs, you can see if you start preparing an attack at the last second, just before, by the time you finish your attack, you'll be in range, you'll tend to take down an enemy. Now, why is that? If you hold your attack, preparing it but leaving it held, the enemy will defend in that direction. But if you spam your attack, the enemy won't defend, and they'll prepare their own attack as soon as they are within a comfortable range. They tend to prepare their attack right before they get within swinging distance of you. So you can prepare your attack just a little bit ahead of time and launch it immediately. Get that hand off of the left click button, no holding the attack, just launching it and continuing to move toward them. You can get the advantage on most initial attacks. And getting a feel for when the AI prepares their own attack, thus lowering their defenses, can give you an idea on the rhythm you should use in your own strikes. Now this matters less in... Now you're wondering, why did I go to the level up menu? Well, I was being attacked by a baby, and it turned out I had a level sitting around anyway, so no sense in continuing this melee. This is sort of a small version of the tournament, and the rewards are a bit less as you are not able to bet on yourself. That would be really cool if you could do that. But even in the Wings of Glory mod, there's no betting on yourself, although the rewards are multiplied by about 10 times compared to what you see in Vanilla Mount and Blade. As I've mentioned before, Wings of Glory mod, a big favorite of mine, already modding the game, as it adds a lot of quality of life improvements to the game. And since Mount and Blade is predominantly a single player experience, at least in this version of the game, would you please stop? He's not stopping. Oh, we took so many hits there, but quarterstaffs or staffs are fairly weak in this game in terms of dealing damage against infantry, so I was able to survive as we go whack-a-mole on the enemy, and we had one remaining before we would have cleaned out the entire competition. But we did grind our way to some better gear, so I decided to take on an enemy army roughly equivalent to my own in numbers, although far superior in training. As you see, we have a few battle ladies and a solid line of Nordic villagers. I don't think they're going to be able to carry the battle on their own. You can see our shiny new armor. I am a huge fan of the Nordic style armors in the game. I think they look really cool. That whole Viking look is just, it's just pretty neat now, isn't it? That's pretty neat. And we're trying to run some people down with our horse, but this is the beginner horse, so all we're really able to do is be disruptive. And since we don't have any ranged units on our team, that's not going to give us the mileage that we need, especially looking at the damage that our horse has taken now from all of these enemies have ranged weapons, sorry, from the brigands to the, what are those, Norse footmen, something like that. They have throwing axes, and it's dealing lots of damage as massive numbers of projectiles come our way. And as I mentioned, there's no real technique for dodging these attacks from the enemy. You pretty much just have to serpentine and hope for the best. So now we're being a little bit more conservative about our attacks, realizing how much more fragile an unarmored horse is than a charger. You can see there's a throwing dagger stuck in our shield, even two of them. That looks pretty cool, along with, of course, the arrow, the ubiquitous arrow that's always poking out of my shield, as I tend to run away from enemy fire fairly frequently. And now we have to be creative. We need to be active enough to keep all of our peasants from getting killed, or at least so that they die just in time for me to win the battle. But we also need to be conservative about taking damage ourselves, and the enemies are likely to target me more than... Can we please move? Ah, that hit. We can absorb with our armor. That's okay. He didn't get our horse. So we actually do, as I mentioned, have some high tier armor on, so we can tank a few hits, but our strength isn't super high, our hit points aren't super high, so we needed to get through that one, and we did. But look at the losses. Most of my army gone, so it's back to town for another little miniature tournament. Take some time in the melee. We'll hop into the tavern real quick. Nope, actually, sorry. I already went there and already checked that one out. So now we're wondering about what we should do next. And I am going to conclude with, well, ooh, hey, that's nice. I want to make this character an archer. This is Wifey Cakes. So far, all of my characters have been based on people or objects that are in my house. There was Sir Keurig, based on my wife's coffee machine. There was Dullahan the Demon Knight, who, believe it or not, that is the name of the body pillow that my wife purchased when she was pregnant and she needed something to hug to help with the back issues that you have when you're growing a tiny person inside of your body. Oh man, she was so huge. I love those days. I love those days. You know what? Sometimes I think that having two girls just isn't enough. But anyway, I'm trying out some... I could tell you the story of Sir Dullahan, but it's pretty simple. His name comes from the anime The Devil's a Part-Timer, which is a hilarious... I'd call it a romantic comedy. It's sort of one of those... It's a good anime. It's a comedy. It's quality stuff. Anyway, the Demon Lord comes to Japan and decides to work at McDonald's instead of taking over the world. And can we please hit the enemy? That would be great. So we're trying out a different technique for archery here, and you might recognize what we're doing. Once again, if you press the left click, you prepare an attack, and if you release right click, that attack is launched as soon as it's ready. Now, in terms of melee weapons, that would mean whenever your swing is prepared, as you see this guy having an attack prepared against us. Not enough to defeat our mighty dagger, huzzah! But anyway, press left click, and as soon as you release it, and as soon as the attack is ready, it launches. So how does that work out for a bow, the way we're doing it here? We're left clicking, and then we're immediately taking our finger off of left click and just tracking our target, and that means that our arrow is going to launch as soon as the attack is ready. In other words, as soon as the bow is fully drawn. And one of the things I appreciate actually about Mount and Blade is there's no half-drawn mechanic to the game, so you don't need to hold down that left click to fully draw your bow. The game presumes that you will only fire your, in fact it enforces that you will only fire your bow after it is fully drawn, and we are racking up the kills here against these bare-chested males. A few more points for gender equality in Mount and Blade. Chalk them up, there's a lot more on the other side of the board. Anyway, where was I going with this one before Tumblr popped in? I think what I wanted to say is that we're aiming while the attack is being prepared and launching as soon as possible, and that is the fastest possible way to get an arrow onto target. And I figure if we get good at this, then we can become something of a sophisticated archer if we get a feel for that. You'll also notice that we're aiming at the feet of that shield Mang, and that is an option for a lot of shielded enemies. Is there an enemy behind us? I saw something swinging. Yes, okay. Now things are spicy up, as there are 13 more enemies to take down, 12 soon, and we've gotten a good number of KOs ourselves. If we can manage to survive this one, we get the grand prize for the melee, which, as I mentioned, is a significantly improved number over vanilla Mount and Blade, and yet there is no time for archery shenanigans in this kind of melee. We do not have the movement speed to run away from these enemies fast enough to get our bow on target. We need to use whatever weapon we have, and as I mentioned, the staff is not a good weapon by any means in the melee on account of its poor damage output against... Okay, I'll go ahead. Yeah, let's do this. A little bit of melee archery there. Ow, as we eat a sword, and yet pull out our dagger just in time to finish off that enemy, and we've won the melee. Wow, that was fast-paced action. I didn't even get time to say everything I wanted to say. I guess the story of Dullahan the Demon Knight will have to stay for next time, and I have massive amounts of content to share in regard to that character. And my problem is I play this game so much right now that I have way more content for videos than I have time to make them. Anyway, I'm glad I was able to share this opportunity with you guys, and I am looking forward to the future in terms of Mount and Blade, and also in terms of making more War Thunder content. Again, I'm just taking a little vacation so the game can be fresh for me. Catch you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.